It's Rick without the K. James presents In My Opinion Podcast.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Thank you for watching.
We are back with another episode of In My Opinion Podcast. I have someone who I never thought I would meet from one of the greatest movies that I loved as a child. I can't even say a child. I think I was a teenager when it came out. Men of Honor. We spoke about it briefly off camera. I mean, this gentleman, like I brought you up to the stage, writer, director, and an avid shit talker.
Yes.
The best of them. And I just wanted to let you know, again, that the movie that I'm talking about.
Yep.
I love it so much that is Men of Honor, one of my favorite movies.
That's cool.
I told you off camera, I have it tattooed on me. My youngest son has it tattooed on him, the ASNF.
Yep.
And for those of you that don't know what that means, is son never forgets.
Yep.
And my oldest was supposed to get it as well, but he hasn't gotten it yet.
Okay.
So, love the movie.
Thank you.
I just had a couple of questions about the movie.
All right.
Because you got to work with one of the greatest actors known.
Yep.
With Robert De Niro.
Yep.
How was that movie making it?
Working with De Niro was as exciting for me as it would be for anybody else. He's like, he's like means so much to me as an actor and an inspiration, and I feel like what he's given me, the inspiration and the excitement and the just the entertainment, like I was very, very excited where I got to work with him on Copland. I got to work with him on Men of Honor. And, it's something that I'll never take for granted, those opportunities. And, he was, he's the best. He's the best. He's very, very quiet. He's a quiet dude in general for the most part. But I think as he's gotten older, he's been a little bit more talkative, but he's the best.
And how did you get that role, if you don't mind me asking?
I got the role, the director, George Tillman. I auditioned for the role and got it. Just like any other, sort of role, you go in there and you do the best you can and you have your game plan. And I went in and auditioned for George, who directed Barbershop, and I really, like him, and he's a good dude, and he directed the Biggie movie, and he's a very good actor's director. He's not intrusive, and I just remember feeling very comfortable, and like he made me feel empowered, which I really liked. And he was excited working with him. You know what I mean? He was excited too.
And I think I wanted to know about the movie because of you're just known as that person, as the actor that you played as the person that you played in that movie.
Yeah.
Like you're one to speak up on equal rights, on civil rights, on
right.
So it didn't seem as if you was acting at all in the movie. It just seemed like, oh, that's just Mike right there.
Yeah. I mean, you're always acting, even no matter if a role is close to you or far. I mean, there's always, there's always part of yourself that's in it, but you're always. Real life, you don't do things over and over and over and over and over and over. So it's always a performance. It's always if there's a camera involved, for me, there's always a performance, even in social media.
Well, I just looked at that movie as on the other side of the spectrum because, again, another favorite movie of mine is Higher Learning.
Right.
That movie has got to be, those two movies got to be like one of the top 5 movies that you've played in, correct? Right? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, doing Higher Learning was awesome. And, working with the late, great John Singleton, who was a friend beforehand and continued to be a friend. And it was just a good, sweet, passionate guy that was very beloved, very well liked by anybody who worked with him. Broke a lot of people's career. He broke Ice Cube as an actor. He broke Regina King as an actor. He broke Morris Chestnut, Cuba Gooding. I mean, that whole cast. He revitalized Lawrence Fishburne's career. I mean, there's a list of people that, he gave breaks to. He gave me, an opportunity that most directors probably wouldn't have. And, it was cool to work with all the actors in that. And, I was such a fan of Boys in the Hood and then of Poetic Justice, and and to work with Ice Cube and Omar Epps, and and to just be around them, and Busta Rhymes and Regina King and all them. Like I was excited. I was very excited doing that film.
And I was watching, maybe it was Vlad TV, where you were talking about higher learning as well. And I didn't know that Leonardo DiCaprio was supposed to play the part that you played in.
Yeah. He was gonna, and Tupac was gonna play the Omar Epps part.
Yeah, and that was just mind blowing to hear that. Where I was like, man.
And Gwyneth Paltrow was gonna play the Jennifer Connelly part.
Where I think everybody who's seen the movie now is
one of those parts.
is just glad that you got to switch the role. But that was on you, if I'm correct. You asked, right? As soon as Leonardo DiCaprio dropped out.
I asked. I wanted to do it, and and John, made me audition, and then I got the part, and had a good amount of time to. Sort of get my head around it. But it was, the challenge of it, it's all fun. And, when I look back at that time, being 24 and young and, and sort of naive and, you're so young at that point. And I mean, so young and just innocent, and you don't understand. I didn't really understand what I was doing, it's just kind of like, everything is happening so fast. It was just a fun time and an exciting time and an exciting movie to be a part of, and I feel like a film that has really lasted the test of time. I think like the themes in that movie were very, very important and well done.
For the people that played in the movie, are you still somewhat in contact? Because, like you said, just
we're all
Busta
bonded.
Rhymes,
Busta Rhymes, Ice Cube, and I, because of that movie. Omar Epps and I, when you work like in that Cole Hauser, when you work in that sort of intimate emotional field, especially that young time, when you're young, you look back at that, and I know everybody has an appreciation for that. And, and working with John, it was an honor. And, especially with his passing, you have like this kind of like, thing that you have with these people, a bond that you have with them.
And even like Regina
Nia
King.
Long, yeah. And Regina, I mean, she's reached all her expectations, in her career. Everybody knew she was special. Everybody's known that for years.
And that was right after Ice Cube's solo album, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So, yeah, you got to work with Cube when he was on his heyday.
Oh, yeah. He was
that must have been dope.
It was dope. It was very dope. It was exciting, and I was a huge fan. So I was tripping out working with him. I'm
going to switch over. And hopefully I don't upset you, but I was talking to Keith downstairs, and I said, man, we're going to go. I have to ask this because I'm an old sports head.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell me who plays on what team nowadays, but back in the days, I've had this argument on this podcast before that I feel as if Allen Iverson was a better point guard than Kobe Bryant.
Well, Kobe wasn't a point guard. I mean, he handled the ball, but I don't even think Allen Iverson was really a point guard. He was a shooting guard. I don't consider Steph a true point guard. I think he's more of a, like if you grew up watching traditional point guards, they were like the distributors first. And, Magic, these are from the guys that I really saw play. Magic and Isaiah and, Tiny Archibald and said, Michael Ray Richardson and, the point guards, they were distribute the ball first. The game has changed a lot because of Magic and the evolution of Michael Jordan, and, he would handle the ball, and Scottie Pippen, so it changed, but I don't consider AI. I know I don't think he considers, he's a damn shooting guard. He shot first. Steph is, he could play point, and I know he grew up playing traditional point, but I don't consider he's off the ball more than he's on the ball. So
I think Kobe would be too, but here's my argument. So hear it out, and then you could tell me when I'm wrong, or hopefully you'll agree with me. So my argument is a couple of things I tell people. I go, one, if Allen Iverson was the height of Kobe Bryant, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. Two, Allen Iverson came in as Allen Iverson.
Right.
And this was a man who didn't need practice. He just went out and balled his heart out. And I go, whereas Kobe, They came in the league in the same year, and who won Rookie of the Year? Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
Because he balled his ass off coming out. So I'm
Kobe
not
was like
taking
12
anything.
when he came in the league, though. He was like 11 or
But
12.
Allen Iverson wasn't very much older either.
No, but
he must have been. I think Kobe was 18 or 19,
Yeah.
and Allen was maybe 20 or 21.
But that year of college, I think, helped. But I hear what you're saying.
So I'm just, and I'm rocking the AIs. Like I just, again, I'm not taking anything away from Kobe. And of course, people are going to be like, Kobe won 5 rings,
Right,
this,
right,
that, and the other. But I just, I play ball too. I know I don't look like I do.
Right.
And I've heard that you play ball in,
Yeah.
in your past. And I'm telling people, if I had to play 5-on-5, I would have had Allen on my team every time, just because I knew he was going to.
You weren't going to get the ball much. Man. I mean, you weren't going to get the ball much with Kobe.
I wouldn't
either.
want to though.
I love both of them. I love both of those guys. Love them both. I mean, those guys are, they're both. I love them both.
Did you get to watch either one of them play?
Of course, I watched Allen at Georgetown. I watched Kobe when he came in the league, and and then obviously both of them in the league. I mean, I watched them very, very close. I like, I love them. I love those guys.
And maybe I'm more passionate about Allen because off camera I was talking to Obi, right? Obi about it, where I was in the military, so we were stationed in Langley Air Force Base in Hampton, Virginia, which is right next to Newport News, and that's right when Allen was in the league.
I understand.
So like we heard the whole thing about him going to jail and then coming out, and then the redemption story, and then and then when you see him, like I said, he was 6 foot on a good day.
Yeah,
he was
he's
like 5'11",
very thin.
And
he's like 165 pounds.
Wet, probably.
Yeah.
At that time,
but I mean, you can't compare, different size. You could say, well, if Larry Bird was as quick as Allen Iverson, what would he be? Or if,
it would be Isaiah Thomas.
If Michael Jordan, but if Larry Bird was 6'10" and as quick as, LeBron James, like what would he be? Or if LeBron James was, 7'2", he'd be better than Shaq. I mean, so it's a crazy argument, but that's what we do.
I just thought I would ask because you talk shit with the best of them when it comes to everything. I did want to touch on this and then just thank you for your time. But, because you are a big Knicks fan,
yes.
right? And I'm assuming that's like before 1995, maybe. Maybe the end of Patrick Ewing.
Nah, I grew up. I'm 52, so my Knicks fandom started, when I was a kid. But I really started understanding it around when Patrick came. Before that, it was players that I liked. On the Knicks, Michael Ray Richardson, Ray Williams, the late Ray Williams, and Bill Cartwright and Marvin Webster, and all those dudes that were playing for the Knicks, and we were suffering, and then we got Patrick, and and that was an incredible time. It was a fun time, being a Knicks fan and being an NBA fan. The mid to late '80s was awesome, and then in the '90s, we tried, we just couldn't get over the hump. But it was a different time also because I feel like we watched the games closer because we didn't have our phones. I feel like I'm suffering as a fan because I'm on my fucking phone. I feel like, if you're watching a game and you're not, and you're on your phone at all, you're not getting the same experiences when you're not. Some Sundays I'll put down my phone and watch NFL, or some nights I'm like, I put the phone away. And, and that's why we were so engrossed. You couldn't see the highlights. You talk about Jordan and,
the greatest.
And Patrick Ewing and whoever the fuck in the 80s, like you would see the highlights and then you wouldn't see them again. And when you saw them, you knew like your brain just, you input things differently. Choose a very technological term, saying things are different with technology. Now, if you missed the game, you can watch all the fucking highlights. That you're going to see everything. You're going to see missed dunks, it's just different. So you process them differently. You process sports. I mean, we process life, but we're talking about sports. But you process sports so much differently because there's not that urgency where you're like, 2 p.m. I have to go to the game because there's no, ESPN was what it was, and like you get some highlights. You didn't get the whole fucking thing. Like now, you get, passes and misses and block shots and if he made the dunk, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Is not a highlight. If he made the jump, the dunk, like they're like, oh, he would have bodied him. I'm like, he didn't.
So let me ask you this then, because I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, but I was a Bulls fan before Jordan ever won a ring. And to me, Jordan is always going to be the greatest, but that's my era, right? But I also am asking this because it's got to be bittersweet for you because, one, you've got to hate the Bulls, right? Because they beat your Knicks in the 90s. But the coach, Phil Jackson, he's got, 13 rings? And 2 of them are with the Knicks.
We didn't give a fuck about those Knicks rings when he was coaching the Bulls. Nobody gave a fuck about those rings. We hated that motherfucker. Hated Jordan, Pippen, B.J. Armstrong, all of them. Hated all those motherfuckers vehemently. I hated Mike. Fuck him. I stopped wearing his sneakers when he started doing that. I just started rocking Jordans again recently.
I was going to say, you got J's on tonight.
I just started. I was on a 30-year hiatus. It took me 30 years to get over that shit.
That's fucking hilarious. Because you guys were that close to in the 90s.
He fucked everybody in the 90s. He fucked everybody over. Everybody. Fucked everybody.
And I heard on a podcast that's the one person you haven't met. Have you met him yet?
Haven't met him.
Haven't met him.
I don't want to meet him. I mean, I think he's nicer now, but for years I just heard he was just a fucking asshole. That's all I heard was those like horror stories from fans of Michael Jordan. He seems to be a little bit more chill now. I'm sure he's probably still an asshole at times, but as you get older, you get a little bit more appreciation. I'm sure he's probably a little bit chiller now. And
so during COVID, did you watch the
Last Dance? I watched. Yeah. I loved it.
You did?
Yeah, I loved it. It was awesome.
It was great.
Loved it. I mean, my hate is not like I didn't appreciate him. I mean, he's Michael Jordan. He's the best. It was so much fun watching him play.
You think he's better than Kobe?
Michael Jordan is the best.
All right.
Better than everybody.
You heard it.
Better than LeBron.
I just wanted to. I've heard you say that before, but I was going to play it like I did.
He's the best. He's number one. And then the list can vary, on who's what. It's all personal opinions and eras and, who you saw play, and I can't judge guys from the 60s. I never saw them play a full game. So, you could say the stats and all that stuff, but the guys that I saw, Michael Jordan is the best by far.
Well, I will tell you, I think I'm going to use the Phil Jackson as the clip too.
All right.
Just because that's the fun. I mean, you heard him in the background laughing. Where I would have just thought that as a Knicks fan, like you would appreciate
those rings now. Fuck that. When he was coaching the Bulls, I wasn't fucking with Phil Jackson.
Charlie Murphy, my main man, Rick James. That's the one you think. Comedian Rick James. Get up.
I can't hear my neighbor crying. I can't breathe.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Thank you for watching.